I like to think of fear and love like this. Fear keeps us away from things that harm us. Love brings us closer to things that benefit us. Now, these two human emotions occur on an everyday basis. You feel it. Fear, love, we go towards things, we go away from things. But we don't always ask ourselves or take the time or have the ability to distinguish when we are moving away from something because of fear, when it could actually be good for us, or we're going towards something that we think we love when it's actually bad for us. Let me give you an example. There was an experiment done where they put dogs in a cage. Now, half the dogs got shocked, the other half didn't get shocked. Now, when they opened up the cages, the dogs that didn't get shocked just ran away. But the dogs that did get shocked stayed in the cage. They'd rather stay with the devil they know than the devil they don't, if you've ever heard that saying. What I mean is, they'd rather stay and get shocked and deal with what they know than leave the cage and experience freedom and perhaps something better. They're scared that something worse might be out there. And what's really happening is when any organism is stressed, when a dog is stressed, when you and I get stressed, we have these hormones that are released, these stress hormones. And what they enable us to do is fight or flight. You've heard it before, fight or flight. We can either run or we can fight. And maybe running and fighting isn't the way to think of it in the 21st century. Well, that is the system, but perhaps a better way to think of it for us and a practical use is when we're faced with something that we're scared of, we either try to confront it, challenge it, overcome it, or we try to back away, withdraw, or go somewhere else, somewhere that we feel is safer. Now, when these dogs are trapped in this cage and they can't do anything with that fight or flight response, they have no other option than to freeze. They can't run away, they're getting shocked, their stress hormones are rising and rising and rising, and there's nowhere for it to go because it can't fight and it can't run. It can't go somewhere safe. So what does that dog do? Well, the brain starts to rewire itself. The dog starts to freeze. It becomes immobile. It's in shock, literally. And it's not too much different than from how we deal with traumatic situations, especially when we're not able to actively deal with it. Especially when we're kids, something happens, we don't know what to say, we don't know what to do, and what's happening might be coming from people that are close to us, people that are taking care of us. So what are we supposed to do? So those stress hormones get released and they start rewiring us. Instead of fighting, confronting, or running away, trying to go somewhere else, we don't have the option to. We're stuck. And it changes how we now view the world. We now start to view the world after traumatic events, challenges, as if we were still in those events, as if it were still happening. I'll give you another example. There's an experiment with some rats. Now, half the rats are in a nice, good, comfy home, safe. There's playing, it's relatively quiet, plenty of food. Now, the other set of rats are in an environment or a home where it's noisy, they're being neglected, and they're being underfed. So now they send both of these groups of rats out into an environment that is noisy and scary. What do the rats do? Now, you would obviously expect the rats with the good home to just run home, and that's what they did. But the rats that didn't have a good home, that were not being fed, that were mistreated, still went home. The environment that they went into, although scary, was actually safer than the environment that they were in at home. So why did they run home too? Because rats, and humans too, most organisms are wired to run home. When that fight or flight instinct kicks in, we're taught to run home, or we're wired to run home because we feel like it'll be safer there, even when it's not sometimes. And that's that love and fear. We tend to love our home because it's what we know. People are there that we know. But even when that home environment isn't safe, even when the people around us are hurting us and don't have our best intentions, we are wired to feel like it is safe, even when it isn't. So I guess what I hope you get from this is that, one, Any events that happened in your past are in the past. You have to start living right here in the moment. Those events are not happening anymore, and it's not like you can just shut it off, because these things are wired in us. But that doesn't mean that we can't change. We have neuroplasticities, meaning whatever events happened, however we were rewired, however we are wiring ourselves now, however we are gearing our brains to work, however they were geared to work, that can change. But not without conscious effort, and not without a little bit of help, talking about what's going on and seeking better environments for ourselves. Now, it's not going to happen in the snap of your fingers. It's not going to happen in a day. It's going to take a lot of time, because it took a lot of time for you to get the way you are now. But there is hope. But like with the dogs, if you take this information and you freeze and you keep doing what you're doing, nothing's going to change. Knowledge can sometimes be the gate that opens, but if we're like the dogs in the cage that are getting shocked, and when the gate is open, we don't run, we don't experience freedom, we don't go for something better, then we're just going to stay in the cage and just get shocked. We need to be like the dogs that just run, go get the freedom, go get the knowledge that you need, go get the resources that you need, go get the help, go talk to people. Like I said, it's not easy, but it can be done. You just have to want it.